everyone, welcome to Anamika's Edu Space, and today in this video lecture we are going to study about the reproduction in organisms, that is chapter 1 of class 12. So let's get started. So you can get the PDF which is readily available in the Telegram channel, that is NeetMeet. So if you want to download this PDF, then you can join us in the Telegram, that is in the Telegram channel, and this is the link is already given in the description below. There you can check out the channel link. Let's start with the chapter overview. So first we are going to study about asexual reproduction. Okay, next is reproduction in plants. Then we are going to study about how the reproduction is happening in the case of the animal. Then we are going to study about sexual reproduction, and then main emphasis or the main important thing, that is events which are held in the sexual reproduction, that is both for plants and animals. We are going to learn about the sexual reproduction in the plants and the animals. Clear? So let's begin. Lifespan. So this is the first topic which is given in your NCERT, right? And what is lifespan? Because in chapter 1 of class 11 we have already studied about this, that each and every organism can not only take birth but they also live up to a certain age, right, or certain time. So that period of time starting from the birth, okay, that is when the person or the organism is born, the day when the organism invaded on this mother earth, okay, to the time of its date, natural date, okay. So when the person is attaining the natural death, so that is known as lifespan. Now what this line represents to you and what NCERT has tried to mention in this line. So NCERT has tried to mention a very important thing, that is it is trying to establish a truth that no individual immortal. So NCERT just has tried to mention that every individual who is born will attain death and every organism will die one day. So this line is very important, right? And through this line NCERT has tried to mention that no individual is immortal. Clear, students? Or maybe the lifespan, may it be one day or few hours to few minutes and to 3000 or 300 years, death of every individual is certain, okay. So no individual is immortal. So this line is very important, which NCERT has mentioned several times. Clear? Except the single celled organism. Okay, why the single cell organism is said to be immortal, we'll learn in this video only. Here you can find lots of living organism and their varied lifespans. Okay, and here NCERT has given you a picture where you have to write the lifespan of different organism. So a rose or a rose plant can live up to 5 to 7 years. Okay, if it is cultured well, then only. A dog has a lifespan of 12 to 14 years. Similarly, everything you can write. The parrot is very important because in MCQs this is asked. Okay, parrot is asked in your MCQs. The tortoise is important. The tortoise is also asked in your MCQs. So some little bit things are important. The crow is important. The butterfly is important. So these things are important, which is already given by the NCERT. Okay, so don't miss one of the parrot, the butterfly, okay, and the tortoise, and also the banyan tree. So make sure that you include the banyan tree also. Clear? Reproduction. Okay, so let us see what is given. Reproduction is a vital process. It is very necessary to continue the life. Reproduction is necessary for continuity of the life. Okay, and it is also a natural and a biological process. And what process? By which the living organisms produces new individuals of their own species. Okay, a crow can never produce an individual of the cuckoo, right? A crow can never lay the egg of a cuckoo, but the crow can lay the eggs of its own. So that's why only producing new individual or species, that is naturally producing new individual of its own species, is known as reproduction. Clear? Now what it helps? It helps us to continue the species, to continue the life forms, to continue the real existing. So what is species? Yesterday only we learned species is the real existence, or we may say it is a real unit which is existing, right? It has existence. Reproduction is of two types: asexual reproduction, where no gamete union, okay, so there will be no union of gametes, and sexual reproduction means union of gametes is present. So when there will be union or fusion, it will be sexual. When there will be no fusion, it will be asexual. Clear, students? But as we are studying in higher standards, so what we will say, that biologically reproduction means, there's a hard definition also. If you think, ma'am, it is so easy, why you are explaining this? So I am telling you that reproduction doesn't only means the process of producing the offspring similar to itself, but also it is a characteristic feature of living. Yesterday only we learned that reproduction is the characteristic feature of living things. Yes, it is the characteristic feature of the living things. It is not the defining feature, but it is the characteristic feature. So this we have learned in our class 11. If you have not seen the previous video, then make sure you go to my channel and see the previous video, or else you can go to the Telegram and there you can get the link of the previous video. Clear? Now, what is reproduction according to higher classes? So according to higher classes, reproduction actually means multiplication, okay, and perpetuation of the species. So what does reproduction means according to the higher classes? It means multiplication, right, and perpetuation of the species. Clear, students? Next, asexual reproduction. So according to the conditions of the environment, organisms have shaped their process of reproduction. So when the environment conditions are unfavorable, then the organism move to the asexual reproduction. And when there is favorable conditions present in the environment, then the organisms moves to the sexual reproduction or the sexual phase of reproduction. Clear? So reproduction consists of two phases. One is asexual phase and another is sexual phase. Asexual phase means it is uniparental. You don't need another parent. It is uniparental. This is the main important thing of asexual reproduction, right? That is single parent involvement. Clear, students? And there is also no wastage of time, because there is no gamete formation here. So there is no wastage of time, right? And number 3 is gamete fusion or syngamy. Okay, what is syngamy? Syngamy is equals to fertilization. Fertilization is equals to fusion, and fusion only means gamete fusion, or it means gametic fusion. Okay, or involvement or union of the two different gametes. Okay, so that is syngamy. So syngamy is totally absent in case of the asexual mode of reproduction. Clear, students? Whereas you can now say the what is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction will always be biparental, right? Second thing, gamete fusion will be there. Third thing, synegamy will be there. Easy difference, no? Yeah. Now, let us study some points on asexual reproduction. What is it? So, it actually involves a single parent, as I have told you now that it involves a single parent. Next, what it is? Next is you will not get any difference. Okay, there will be no variation. Okay, why? Because it is only copying, it is only multiplying, and it is producing the Xerox copies. So in the Xerox copies, would you find any variation? Would you find any change, any differences? No. These are actually the clones. The clones means the Xerox copies or the twin copies, okay, who are genetically similar to one another. They're same in their genes. Okay, there's no alteration of the genes, there's no alteration of the alleles, there's no alteration of any of the genetic makeup. So there's no change in anything, only the Xerox copies are produced generation after generation. Okay, so if this is the mother cell, so from the mother cell, two different daughter cells are produced. Okay, from these two different daughter cell, again 4 different type of cells are produced in this next progeny. Okay, from 1 we got 2, from 2 we got 4. Okay, so like this it is increasing day by day and producing clones referring to their parents. Okay, now that's why it is being said in the previous line that asexual mode of reproduction is always immortal. Okay, immortal means the one which doesn't have or one which doesn't attains death. Okay, there is no death in case of asexual reproduction. Why? Because this was only the cell content, it has only been divided, nothing has been lost, only it has been divided and it has went to producing two daughter nuclei or two separate cells. Okay, now this was only the content which is being passed from generation after generation. There's no addition. Okay, there's no change, and only the same thing is being passed. Okay, so that's why it is said that this cell or the genes of the mothers are never dead. The mother genes are always alive generation after generation, and the genes are also preserved. So when the genes are said to be preserved, so it is said to be immortal. Clear, students? Is it clear? Okay. Now we will move to the next point, that is unit of reproduction is commonly formed from somatic cells of the parent. Yes, I forgot to tell you that there are two types of cells in our body. One is the somatic cells, which is known as the body cells. Okay. And another is the germ cell, which is known as the reproductive cell. We have already studied this. These are all the basic concepts which you already know, but then also we are just studying it once more just to clear our thoughts. Okay, clear? Now, so what happens that only the unit of reproduction, that is in case of asexual reproduction, somatic cells or body cells take part. Why? Because there is no sexual reproduction and thus the germ cells are not needed in this case. Clear? Asexual reproduction is common among single-celled organisms. Okay, and in plant, and also it is found in animals with relatively simpler body. Okay, so the asexual reproduction will happen in those plants, animals or organisms who are single-celled or they are primitive in nature, because asexual reproduction is not an advanced type of reproduction. Sexual reproduction is an advanced type of reproduction. Why? Because sexual reproduction, to perform the sexual reproduction, there are several cells in our body that are the germ cells, and this germ cells actually causes the variation. So that's why sexual reproduction is the one of the most advanced form of the reproduction. Clear? Next is cell division. So there is cell division in case of asexual reproduction, and in case of this primitive group, we have studied yesterday only that reproduction becomes synonymous with growth. If you remembered that, then it is very good. If you don't remember, then you can always download the PDF which is available in the Telegram channel, that is NEAT-MATES. Okay. So cell division is a mode of reproduction in the case of the protist, which is the one of the most primitive, and the protist contains what? The amoeba and the monerans. Okay. So in bacteria, the parent cell divides into two to give rise to two new individuals, and we will also study about this in detail in this chapter, and it may take place by the following methods. So what are the following methods by which asexual reproduction takes place? Let us study about this. Yeah. So types of asexual reproduction. Fission is the mother amoeba. Okay. So from the parent or the mother amoeba, there has been increase in the size. Okay. Right. The nucleus has enlarged, and then the cell got split up into two daughter cells. Okay. So what we can see that the genes or the parental genes are preserved generation after generation. Clear? So that's why it is immortal. Now fission can also be of two types. One is binary fission. So when the parent body is divided into two individuals, it will be known as binary fission. Next is multiple fission. Parent body divides into many daughter individuals. You can find lots of daughter individuals which will be always more than two. Okay. So that will be plasmodium. Clear? Next type of asexual reproduction is budding. So whenever you study about budding, you can see a parent cell like this. So parent cell has a growth which is known as outgrowth. Okay. We have ingrowth. Similarly, it is a outgrowth. So as it is a outgrowth, it is forming a bud-like thing. Okay. When the flower comes, we get a flower bud. Similarly, it forms a bud-like thing. And this bud actually increases in size, and when it increases in size, there forms a constriction in this area, and the bud gets detached from the parent body. Clear? So the example is found in yeast, and also another example is there, that is hydra. Yes. So budding can be of two types, that is external budding and internal budding. So an outgrowth or the bud is formed on the parent body which constricts and separate to form a new organism, जो कि हम लोग yeast और hydra पे देख सकते हैं. Clear students? Next comes the internal budding. So what is internal budding? In the internal budding, there also forms buds, but it is in the case of the sponge. So in the case of the sponges, we find in page number 6 of your NCERT, you can find lots of bud present inside the sponge. So those buds are the internal buds which is formed inside the sponge, and from that also new individual comes out. Okay, and sponges also reproduce through the gamules. Okay, so sponges also reproduce through the gamule formation. Clear students? Next is spore formation. So what is spore formation? The spores are the propagules, okay, which germinate to produce new individuals. For example, as we can see in the fungi, okay, so there's lots of spores, and the spores actually are microscopic in nature. Okay, so you cannot see these spores, but these are the microscopic structure spores. Okay, you can find spores not only in the fungi but also in algae, in bryophytes, okay, and also in the pteridophytes. So fungi, algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta all reproduces through spores, okay, and these are microscopic in structure. Next, fragmentation. So what is fragmentation, dear? The method is very common in algae, fungi and lichens, okay, and the breaking of the body. That means the parent body is broken up and each fragment develops into a new organism. So that is found in Spirogyra. So Spirogyra, the small fragments of the plant body will be leading to the formation of the new individual. It is very, very common in algae, fungi and the lichens. Regeneration. So what is regeneration, dear? Regeneration and fragmentation are quite similar. Regeneration means if you cut the body of the organism, if this is the organism, similarly this is the organism, if you cut the body of the organism, then it will regenerate its lost parts. Okay, so that is known as regeneration. Okay, so formation of the whole body from an organism from a small fragment or by replacement of the lost body parts. For example, we can see in sponge and we can see in planaria. So example of regeneration is planaria, and this is very, very important. Okay. Now we'll ask that, ma'am, what is the difference between fragmentation and regeneration then? So there is no big difference in between fragmentation and regeneration, but I must say that fragmentation means the small fragments are getting detached and then it is leading to the formation of the new life. But here in the regeneration, small fragments are not getting detached, but it is somehow getting lost. Okay, the organism is losing some of the parts, so it can easily regenerate its lost part. So that is the difference between regeneration and fragmentation. Clear? Next, so during unfavorable condition, multiple fission is very, very important, as I already said, and there are lots of things which extra we will learn, like zoospores. Who produces the zoospores? The Chlamydomonas produces the zoospores. And what are actually the zoospores? The zoospores are the asexual reproductive structures which is found in the kingdom fungi, right? And these are actually the microscopic motile spores. Okay, as I already said that fungi always has microscopic spores, so these are microscopic, and in case also you have to learn that microscopic plus motile zoospores. We can find it out in fungi. Okay, pseudospores. So for pseudopodiospore, you can always answer this because pseudopodia is present in amoeba, so pseudopodiospores will also be found out in amoeba. Okay. Next is your conidia. So conidia is penicillium. So this example and this portion is already present, and the page number is page number 6, which you can follow. So conidiospores are non-motile spores. So actually conidia are the series of rounded structure which is found in several fungi and also in the algae, and it is known as conidia. After detaching, they germinate into a new plant, and the example is penicillium. Okay. Now, while the animals and other simple organisms, the term asexual reproduction is used unambiguously. In the plant, the term vegetative reproduction is used. So in case of the other organism or animals, we say that the term asexual reproduction, but when it comes to plants, what we will say? We will say that it is vegetative reproduction. Okay. In the plants also, when there will be reproduction from the somatic cells or the plant body, when there will be reproduction from the body of the plant, then it will be said as vegetative reproduction. So in the plants, how the vegetative propagation can go on? Vegetative propagation can go on such as runner, rhizome, sucker, tuber, offset, bulb. Okay, so these can happen. So let us see how these helps in the reproduction of the plant. So yes, here we can find some of the pictures which you can name. So let me see. What is this? Yes, these are the zoospores of Chlamydomonas. Now only we studied. These are the conidia of penicillium, right? And what is this actually? This is the bud. Okay, birds in Hydra, because we can see the bud written here and it is the outgrowth. So birds of Hydra. And what is this, guys? I already said this is a body of a sponge. So gamule formation in sponge. Clear, students? Now we will move to the plant part. Types of vegetative propagation in plants. We can see the image of a potato tuber or the eye of the potato from where the new germinating buds are coming out. Clear, students? This is the ginger, which is known as rhizome. Here we can find adventitious roots. Okay, so potato is an underground stem, right? And remember another important point, that is sweet potato. Sweet potato is not a stem. Sweet potato is a root. Okay, so it is a underground root, but it is not a stem. Clear? Now what is this? This is the bulbil of agave. This is bryophyllum, every one of us know it. And this one is the offset of water hyacinth. Okay, so what is water hyacinth? The question comes from water hyacinth too. That is very important. Vegetative propagation, which can be divided into two things. First is natural, next is artificial. Under natural, there can be three types. First, roots, stem, leaves. Under artificial, there can be many types like cutting, layering, grafting, micropropagation. Okay, so guys, this is the natural way and this is the artificial way through which plants can be grown or plants can propagate. Clear, students? So let's begin. Natural vegetative propagation. Roots. So as I already mentioned you that potato tuber is the underground stem, whereas sweet potato is a underground root. So whenever there will be an example or an odd one out or a match the following, whatever may be the question, so always the students make a wrong that they think that sweet potato and potato are same, but sweet potato and potato are very very different. So don't make this major mistake and come out from the rat race and begin your own race, and make sure that sweet potato is a root, not a stem. Buds on the root will grow into leafy shoots above the ground, and these are known as the adventitious shoots. So these adventitious roots are always found in the rhizome too. Clear, students? And guava is also the example of the root tuber. Growing plants from the stem. There are various types of modified underground stem. So first one is, the first one is sucker. So sucker example is mint. Okay, and chrysanthemum. Next is a rhizome. Rhizome example is ginger and turmeric. Bulb example is onion and garlic, which is almost looking like a bulb. Okay, so onion has a scaly leaves, right? And it almost looks like the bulb. Okay, next is potato tubers or the eye of the potato, which I have already seen. Then corms, okay, colocasia, gladiolus, okay. Then comes some creeping or few types. For example, runner. So what is runner actually? Runner is oxalis or water hyacinth. Water hyacinth is Eichhornia, right? And then offset, that is Pistia. Clear? Now next there can also be some aerial modified stem. So what happens, as the stem will touch the ground, the new plant will begin from there. Okay, so as the stem falls, the new plant begins. As the stem falls, the new plants begin. So for example, cacti and opuntia. Clear, students? So this is the aerial modified stem. Next, growing plant from leaves. So from leaves also new buds can come out, as we have already seen in case of the bryophyllum leaf. So if this is your leaf, right, then new buds will come out from the ventlets. Okay, so new leaf will be formed from the ventlets. So for example is bryophyllum. Next comes the artificial vegetative propagation. So artificial vegetative propagation is very important, because through this vegetative propagation only we are growing a lots of plant nowadays. Okay, so First is cutting. So cutting is very important. That is whenever the leaf is growing. I will give you a little bit example according to my knowledge. So if you are having a rose plant in your garden, and if the rose plant is bearing leaves like this, if the twig is bearing leaf like this, how many leaves you will count the leaf? Okay, so how many leaves are there total? And if the plant is bearing leaves like this, okay, so there's a difference between the structure and the number of the leaf. Yeah, so here 7 leaves are there and here 5 leaves are there. So which is good for the rose plant? Which is good for the rose plant? This one is good for the rose plant. Why? Because this leaf is a young leaf. Okay, and this young leaf will bear flowers. Okay, whereas this 7 leaf plant twig is a mother leaf, right? And it is a developed one. It is a developed one. It is not young. So it will not give me flower. So will I keep this twig? No, I'll not keep this twig. So I will cut it out and I will detach this twig from the rose plant. And I will keep the twigs like this. That's why cutting a small piece of any plant organ, may it be the stem. Okay, so stem cutting is done in cases of the roses. And this is the reason why the gardeners always use this process of stem cutting. Clear? And then it is also used for propagation. So whenever we cut the stem of the rose, then only we can get the new flower. Okay, it will bear new flower, because only the young stem can bear the new flower, whereas the old stem cannot bear the new flower. So we always cut and detach the old stem. Clear? Leaves, for example, in the bryophyllum, roots, for example, tamarind, and in the stem, for example, sugarcane. Clear, students? Next is layering. So roots are artificially induced on the stem branches before these detach from the parent plant. For example, jasmine, lychee, etc. So this is layering. So we are artificially inducing the roots on the stem. Clear? Next is grafting. So what is grafting? Grafting actually means when you are combining two different plants. So if this is, suppose this is the twig of the potato plant, okay, and this is the twig of the tomato, and I'm packing it. Okay, I'm just packing it out. And then the cell sap will go on. Okay, the cell sap in these two plants will go on, and they will actually join together, and they will make a new hybrid plant. So that is grafting. The two plant parts are taken, the root system, that is stalk, is taken, and the shoot system, that is scion, is taken, and from the two different plants are joined together. Okay, and they're tied together by wrapping up with a plastic bag. Okay, and the new plant is formed. For example, it is done in the roses, apple, etc. So I have only taken the example of potato and tomato to make you understand the example that new plant which will form, which is known as pomato. But just to make you understand, but in this by this case, potato and tomato plant cannot be taken. Okay, the plant of the same genus are used, only different species are taken. So the rose plant will be used, and there will be two different species of rose plant. May it say species 1 and then species 2. Clear? And among them only this type of propagation is done. Okay. Next, micropropagation. So what is micropropagation? Micropropagation is done in those cases where we cannot get the whole plant body. Okay. So if you want to conserve some of the Himalayan plants, and if you want to grow it in your garden, or else it in artificially in your laboratory. So you need the help of micropropagation, that is plant tissue culture. So actually you will do what, you will take or collect some tissues of this Himalayan plant, okay, then you will bring this tissue to your garden, to your home garden, and then you will put it in your lab, you will culture it, and then you will again plant it to the garden. In your home garden you can plant it and grow it, okay. So it actually involves the culturing of the cells, tissues or the organ to form the callus, which differentiates to form a large number of plantlets. Clear? Next is water hyacinth. So what is actually water hyacinth and why we are reading this? So water hyacinth actually have caused a serious problem, right? And it is also known as the terror of Bengal, right? So why water hyacinth is known as the terror of Bengal and what serious problem is it has caused? So it has enhanced the eutrophication, okay, or we may say it has enhanced algal bloom, okay. And due to algal bloom, the water bodies were turned into stinking drains, okay. So this is actually a phenomenal plant, and these plants propagate vegetatively at the phenomenal rate, okay. In a very short period of time it can easily propagate. It has very beautiful flowers of its shape of its leaves are very very beautiful, you may say, like the leaves are like this, and it's very nice looking plant. So that's why it was taken and it was cultivated in the water bodies of West Bengal, and now it is very very difficult to get rid of. So this is a neat bomber question, make sure that you learn this question, okay. So this was all about the propagation of the water hyacinth, okay. And this also will study again in chapter and in your last chapter, that is environmental issues or environmental science, okay. Next, sexual reproduction, the most awaited part and the most important part in this chapter. So what is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction, there will be two gametes. One gamete is female gamete, another gamete is a male gamete, okay. So there will be opposite sex, that is known as dimorphism. So there will be dimorphism, dimorphic characters, two different characters will be present. These gametes when fused will make a new cell, and this new cell will be known as the zygote, right? Because it has already changed its combination, changed everything, changed the genes in them. It is preserving the genes, but it is also making of the new genes. That's why it is called as a new name, that is new name is given, that is zygote. It occurs in all the flowering plants or in the humans, etc. And then the period of growth from the birth to the reproductive maturity is known as juvenile phase, okay. And this sexual reproduction, it has been divided into three main phases. One is the juvenile phase, okay, and then from the period of growth to the seed germination, it is known as the vegetative phase, right? And then what happens, latter phase, the last phase is known as reproductive phase. What is reproductive phase? When the organism actually starts producing and the onset of senescence. Senescence means aging phase, okay. So what we studied that a lifespan of an organism is divided into certain stages, okay. So first stage, when the organism is very young, not attained reproductive maturity, then it is going on through the juvenile phase. After the juvenile phase, what happens there, when it comes a period of growth, so it is known as vegetative phase. That means the characters are developing, the structures are developing, and each and everything is developing. After the vegetative phase, when it becomes reproductively mature, then it is known as the reproductive phase. And when it starts actually reproducing, so that is the reproductive phase for the organism, okay. And this reproductive phase lasts up to senescence phase, okay. So what is senescence phase? Senescence phase means aging of the organism, and then the organism actually die, that is known as death phase. Clear? So our life of the organism or the lifespan has been divided into 5 different phases. Clear? Now we will study about the fourth point, that is, according to different phenomena the flower actually lives. So somewhere what happens, a bamboo species, what is said, the bamboo species flowers only once in their lifetime. If a bamboo lives 100 years, so generally in its whole 100 years it produces once. Okay, it produces large number of fruits and die once. Okay, there is another important thing, that there is a flower, it is very important. So there is a flower which actually flowers in once in a 12 year. Okay, once in a 12 year, मतलब 12 साल में सिर्फ एक ही बार ये फूल देती है. And the example is Nila Kuranji, that is Strobilanthes kunthiana. Okay, next is non-primate. So who are primates and who are non-primate? The humans are actually the primates. So what are primates? The primates are the humans. Okay, and the non-primates are the cows, sheep, rats, deers, tigers, okay, dogs, etc. Okay, where the cyclical changes occur during reproduction are called the oestrus cycle. Okay, so the primates have this oestrus cycle, whereas the humans, okay, the apes, the monkeys will have what? They will have the menstrual cycle. Okay, so menstrual cycle and this oestrus cycle actually helps in their reproduction. Clear? Next comes the many seasonal breeders are also there, that is a dog. Okay, so once a year 3 times it gets pregnant. Okay, and the dog can give birth to 3 times, whereas an elephant only gives birth in 18 months. Now we'll complete the events of sexual reproduction grouped into 3 distinct stages. Pre-fertilization, that is before the fusion of the gametes, what happens? Gamete formation goes on. Okay, then there is fusion of the gametes. Okay, after the fusion of the gametes, what happens? There becomes the formation of the zygote. So zygote formation and development of the zygote is included under post-fertilization events. So pre-fertilization events. These are the events of the sexual reproduction which takes place before the fusion of the gametes. This includes the gametogenesis and gamete transfer. Clear? Gametogenesis. So we'll clearly study about this. What is gametogenesis? So formation of the gametes is known as gametogenesis. The reproductive units in the sexual reproduction are called as gametes. Now gamete can be many types, like there can be homogametes, or the gametes can be same or similar, like same gametes can be there like in cladophora, and there can be also different gamete like the male gamete and the female gamete. As in case of the humans, there are 2 different kinds of gametes, that is the male gamete and the female gamete. The male gamete is known as anthrozoid or the sperm, whereas the female gamete is the egg or the ovum. Clear? Now, in sexually reproducing organisms, on the basis of their structure which is present, there can be different type of organism like the homothallic and monoecious. What is monoecious? Monoecious means bisexual animals. Okay, so when both male and female structure are present in case of single animal, so it is known as monoecious. Okay, so if this is the animal body, so the male is also present, the female is also present. Okay, it is found actually in the fungi, in the coconut, in the cucurbits, maize, etc., etc. Next is heterothallic and dioecious. So what is heterothallic and dioecious? Di means 2. Okay, di means 2 and di means dimorphism. So dioecious equals to dimorphism. Dimorphism equals to male and female will be separate. Okay, so there will be unisexual condition. Okay, unisexual condition means male and female are separate. For example, in papaya, in the date, etc., etc. And the male flower or the unisexual male flower is known as the staminate, and the female flower is known as the pistillate. Okay, so these are also asked that actually what is staminate and what is pistillate. So unisexual male flower are known as staminate, and the unisexual female flower is known as pistillate. Okay, now comes the bisexual animals. So this was all about the plants. The monoecious, homothallic and dioecious heterothallic condition was in case of the plants. Okay, but it is bisexual and unisexual condition only. But in case of the plants, we call it as a different name. Okay, similarly, as you have different names, your nickname, your common name, your school name, your buddy name, and etc. etc. So many names you have, right? So similarly, the in case of the plants, it is known as monoecious and dioecious. In case of the animals, it is known as bisexual and unisexual. So see, the meaning is same. The female and the male present in the same body is bisexual. In a single individual, you can find two separate sexes, and in a single individual, you will find only one, either male or either female, that is unisexual. So cockroach, human, dog, etc. are unisexual, whereas earthworm, sponge, leech, tapeworm, these are hermaphrodites. That means bisexual only, that is male and the female reproductive organs both are present in the single individual. Clear? Okay. Now, cell division during gamete formation. Okay, cell division during gamete formation are always haploid. Okay. So, cell division during gamete formation will be always haploid, because gametes are always n in number. Gamete can never be 2n. Never be 2n, because there is division. Okay, and there always be mitotic division, or there will be meiotic division. Any of the two divisions will be there, and the gametes will always be haploid in number. So this question is always asked. This line is very important, that gametes are always haploid. This line is very one of the most important line in your NCERT which is present. Gametes are always haploid. Okay, and this belongs to the organism belonging to the Monera, fungi, algae. Bryophyta actually have haploid plant body, and these organisms produces gamete by mitotic division. What is mitotic division? Mitotic division is actually repetitive cell division. Okay. Next is pteridophytes. So in pteridophytes, the parental body is diploid, but the gamete always forms, that is undergoes meiosis. Meiosis is a reductional division. Okay, and that results in the formation of the haploid gametes. So from this slide, what do we learn? We learn only one thing, and that is very important for your NEET examination. That is, gametes are always haploid. May it be meiotic division, may it be mitotic division, may it be meiosis or mitosis, any of the processes going on, gametes will be haploid. Gamete transfer. Now this is very important, because most of the sexual reproduction and the unfavorable reproduction is totally dependent upon the gamete transfer. So what is actually gamete transfer? So guys, gamete transfer actually occurs in various ways. In most of the organism, we can find the male gamete is very motile, like the sperm. It has the capability to move, right? So as it has the capability to move, it actually reaches the ovum or the egg, and then it fuses the egg, right? The female gamete is non-motile. Both the gametes are motile in few fungi and the algae. It can be so that male and the female both are motile. Both can move. Okay. In algae, what happens? Algae, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, gamete transfer takes place through water. Okay. So the gamete transfer is involved through the water current. So male gamete is known as antherozoite. Okay. As the gamete transfer is done through the water current, so what happens? They produces a large number of male gametes. Okay. And next is self-fertilizing or bisexual plant. For example, peas, gametes is easily transferred as the anthers and the stigma are closely located. Okay. So, self-fertilization in case of the self-pollination, what happens? The stigma and the anther. Okay. So, if this is a stigma, so the anther are closely located and the anther directly falls on the stigma. And this is actually happening in the monoecious plant, which has the male and the female productive structures in the same flower. Okay. But in case of the cross fertilization, what happens? In the case of the cross fertilization, the gamete transfer occurs by a process which is known as pollination. So pollination is the process through which the gametes are transferred. Next comes fertilization. So what is fertilization? The complete fusion and the permanent fusion of the two gamete, and they actually forms a diploid zygote, that is 2n. So male gamete is N and the female gamete is again N. When the female and the male gamete both are combining, it forms 2n in structure, and this process is known as syngamy or fertilization. Clear, students? So when the female gamete undergoes development to form the new organisms without fertilization, this process is called as parthenogenesis. For example, rotifers, honeybees, lizards, birds, this is your fertilization. Now, depending upon where does the syngamy occur. Okay, so fertilization can be of again two types: external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization is the fusion of the gamete that takes place outside the body. So how the gametes fusion takes place? The male releases the male gamete outside the body, the female releases the female gamete outside the body in the water, in the aquatic system, and through the water current the male gamete comes and the female gamete also comes, and they are fused with each other. Okay, so this is external fertilization, which happens in case of the fishes and the frog. Clear? In the aquatic animals specially. And then is the internal fertilization. So in case of the internal fertilization, what happens? The ova produced is very less in number, okay, but the male gametes are largely produced. So the male releases the large number of male gametes in the genital tract of the female, and then these male gametes are carried on to the female gamete, and whenever it reaches the female gamete, the fittest one fuses the female gamete and others fail to reach the ova. Clear? So it is found in fungi, higher animals like birds, mammals, majority of the plants, etc. Clear? Next is post-fertilization event. So what is post-fertilization event? The fusion of the male and the female gametes processes occurs through these events. So first one is zygote formation. So what is zygote formation? Zygote is actually the beginning of the new life, and zygote is always diploid, that is 2n in structure. Okay, and zygote is actually carrying the genetic material from the parent, and also it is making its new genetic recombination too. Okay, so this type of reproduction can be found in fungi, whereas fungi develops a thick walled resistant to the external damaging factors. The zygote which is present inside develops by meiosis to form the haploid spores that grows into haploid individual in case of the organisms which lead the haploentic life. For example, Volvox and Spidogyra. Right? Now what happens that in the organism with diploentic life cycle, जिसमें 2n वाला life cycle है, उसमें क्या होती है? There goes mitotic division. Okay, so in case of the fungi, what it was? Meiotic division. Why? Because the zygote was 2n in structure. Right? So from 2n we have to go to n. Right? From 2n there would be reduction division and we have to go to n. Right? Similarly, from 2n as we are going to n, so that's why the zygote undergoes the meiosis. Okay, that is reductional division. But in case of the other organism where there is diploentic life cycle, where there is 2n number of life cycle, the organism or the zygote doesn't have to go to n, but it will continue with the 2n only. So there will be meiotic, that is equational division, no reduction division will be there. So in case of other organism there will be equational division. In case of fungi there will be reductional division. So in the other organism, for example, it will be the flowering plants. Clear? Embryogenesis. So after the formation of the fusion, so if there is gamete, first I'll say there is gametogenesis. Okay, then there is formation of two gametes, that is male gamete and the female gamete. Clear? Now after the formation of the male gamete and the female gamete, what occurs? Fertilization. So in the fertilization, what do we get? We get zygote, that is 2n in structure. Clear? Now the growth of the zygote, from the zygote stage that it is going and attending to the embryo, there comes many stages in between. So actually the zygote which is there, it goes repetitive division and it grows, right, and it divides and forms lots of division through cleavages. Okay, so it goes through morula, okay, then it goes to blastula, and then it goes through gastrula. Okay, and the gastric gland is formed and the gastric cavity is formed, the gut is formed, the digestive system is formed, and thus it forms the embryo. So the journey of the zygote from the formation of zygote till the formation of embryo is known as embryogenesis. Okay, so the process of development of the embryo from the zygote is known as embryogenesis. This event occurs in the animal during the embryogenesis are, okay. What are the events that occurs in the animal during embryogenesis? So first is mitosis. Mitosis means cleavage, which is a equational division, not a reductional division. If when the zygote is formed, it is just a ball or a mass of ball. Clearly that zygote goes on dividing. First is creates a furrow, okay, or a cleavage, and it divides into two cell. Okay, from the two cell structure it starts dividing and it makes a 4-cell structure. From the 4-cell structure it again starts dividing and makes a 8-cell structure. Then it again divides 16 cell, 32 cell. Like this it goes on dividing, and ultimately it creates the gastrula. Clear? So mitosis or the cell division of the cleavage occurs leading to the growth of the embryo. Clear? Now the cells of the embryo undergo differentiation and attain specific shape, size and function. The cell differentiation leads to the production of different tissues, organs and organ system. As I already said that when the embryo goes on further development, it actually reaches to the gastrula stage, and in the gastrula stage the gastric cavity is already built up. The digestive system or the organ system is already developed. Clear, students? So that was all about embryogenesis, which is quite interesting process. So according to the development of the embryo, the organism has been differentiated into 3 types. So the first type, what it is? Oviparous. Oviparous means the egg layers. Okay, so the egg layers are known as oviparous. Okay, the female lays the eggs and these eggs are fertilized one. These are the calcareous, these are covered with the calcareous cells. Okay, next is the viviparous. Viviparous means the birth givers. Okay, they are directly giving birth to the young ones. Okay, for example, the body or the embryo develops inside the body of the female, and then the female is giving birth to a already developed individual. Okay, then comes the ovoviviparous. So ovoviviparous is the combination of oviparous and viviparous. So actually what happens? Actually the female retains the eggs inside the body after fertilization, and the development of the embryo occurs inside the body, okay, without providing extra nourishment, and there is no placenta. So in case of humans there is placenta, whereas placenta is absent in case of the ovoviviparous animals, and the example will be sharks and the rattlesnakes. Clear, students? Next comes the post-fertilization events of the plants. So what are the post-fertilization events of the plants? So first is sepals, petals and stamen wither and shade off. Pistil remain attached to the plant. Zygote develop into the embryo and the ovule develop into the seed. Okay. So what happens after this? The petals, the sepals and the stamen, each and everything after the fertilization shades off. The pistil which is present, that remains attached to the plant. The zygote develops into the embryo, which is known as embryogenesis. The ovule develop into the seed. The ovary will develop, that is the outer covering will develop into the fruit, right? And the pericarp which is produced at the wall of the ovary, right? And the seed will be dispersed by whom? Dispersed by the agents. And who are the several agents? The several agents are animals, birds, insects. So these are the several agents. Okay. So these are the living agents, and the non-living agents will be wind, water, right? So these are the non-living agents. And then these seeds will be germinating into the new plant after getting these suitable conditions. So what are the suitable conditions needed? Air, warmth and light. Okay. Air, warmth and sunlight. Clear, students? Now we have completed the whole chapter. Hope this long duration was quite helpful to you all, and we have, yes, luckily we have completed the whole chapter. If you like this video, then make sure that you download the PDF from the Telegram channel and also join our Telegram channel soon. And if you think that my work is fruitful, then make sure that you follow me on Facebook and also on Instagram, and you can also follow me on Telegram too. And the next video will be uploaded tomorrow, so make sure that you watch that video too, and that video will be on chapter 2 of your class 11, that is biological classification. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel, that is Anamika's A to Space. And thank you for watching this video. Bye bye, take care.